Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form. You could put right angle here, or you could put a 90-degree angle here. Based on this definition, highlight or circle the perpendicular lines in the figures below. So on this first one, on this rectangle, do we have perpendicular lines? Do we see the right angle? Yes. We actually have several perpendicular lines, do we not? What about on the cone? Do you see the right angle? So when we're graphing these, we're not actually going to have that right angle labeled. Okay, we have on the triangle there, and then on the house. We have a graph here. There are 4 different lines. We have lines R, S, T, and U. They intersect to form a rectangle. Use our knowledge of rectangles to answer A through D. Which pair of lines should have the same slope? Looking at that. Which one should have the same slope? What do you know about the sides of a rectangle? They are parallel. So which line should be parallel? R is parallel to S. Remember, that's our symbol for parallel. R is parallel to S, and T is parallel to U. How are we going to find slope of each line in a graph? How do we find slope in a graph? Rise over run. So let's start with line R. Line R, what do you notice about the direction of line R? It is negative. Negative 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Negative 3 over 2. What else? So if R is parallel to S, what should we notice on S for that slope? It should be the same thing, and it is. Line T, that is going up, as you can see. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I count those correctly? What do you know about 4 over 6?
1 over 3, 2/3.
2 over 3. So then what would be the slope of U? Also 2/3. List 2 pairs of perpendicular lines from the figure. So we know that on a rectangle, the sides are parallel, and we have 4 right angles, do we not? So technically there is a right angle here, 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 and here. So what are our perpendicular lines? Could we say, and here's the symbol for perpendicular, it's an upside down T. R is perpendicular to what? Perpendicular to T. Okay. What else? Could we say that U is perpendicular to what? It is actually perpendicular to R and S, right? So let's compare our slopes for our perpendicular lines. So our slope for R, we did this up at the top, was negative 3 over 2. And our slope for T is 2 over 3. So what do you notice? What's happening? So if they are perpendicular, we're going to have opposite sides. So one is positive and one is negative. Opposite signs. And it has to be both. And flipped. Okay, so the numerator becomes the denominator becomes the numerator. When you were in 6th grade, you learned that word is called a reciprocal. Okay, reciprocal, refliprocal. So you can see it was a negative 3 over 2. It became a positive, and then we flipped our fraction. Slope of perpendicular lines. Slope of perpendicular lines are opposite, reciprocal. To find the slope, we're going to flip the fraction and change the sign. Those both have to happen. What is the slope on number 1? The original slope is 4 over 5, and so we need to flip it. What happens when we flip it if we're going to write it perpendicular? 5 over 4 and negative, just like that. What about number 2?
2 over 1 positive.
positive. You can write 2 over 1, or you can also just write 2. I would take either. Be careful on number 3. What is my slope on number 3?
Negative 5. 1/5.
5 over 1, so we're going to make it negative 5 over 1. Be careful on number 4. Positive 1 over 10. Remember, if you have a whole number, you can put a 1 underneath it, and then you're going to flip it. Write the slope and the equation in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Look for the key words, perpendicular. What does perpendicular mean we need to do to the slope?
Flip it.
And flip the sign, right? So opposite reciprocal. So what is my slope in?
Negative 4/3.
It is 3/4, so we're going to flip it to negative 4/3. And now we have a b. So what is my equation?
Y equals negative 4/3 plus 1. Plus 4.
X plus what?
3.
3. These next two are not quite so straightforward because they're not giving you the y-intercept. They're giving you an x1, y1. So we are going to need to start with, we have a point and a slope. So point slope. And we're going to change it to mx plus b. So again, perpendicular. So look at your slope. It is currently negative 1/3. What does it become if we opposite flip it? Positive 3. So now we're going to plug our numbers in. Y minus, what's my y1? 7 equals, what's my m? 3x minus, actually becomes a plus 2. Because remember, when we put our coordinate in, we have to change the sign. Now what do? We're going to add the 7 and we're going to distribute. So 3x plus 6 plus 7, y equals, what's 6 plus 7? 13, there you go. All right, so our slope, because it's perpendicular, is going to become negative 1 over 6. So y plus 5 equals negative 1 over 6, x minus 12. Do your distribution. Negative 1, 6 times negative 12 is a positive 2. And we're going to move that 5 over. Y equals negative 1, 6, x minus 3. So yesterday when we talked about Oivox, okay, so let's do this. Let's start with drawing a line perpendicular to the x. Remember, this is my x and this is my y. If I am perpendicular to my x is currently horizontal. If I am perpendicular, I am drawing what? Vertical. So let's do this. Let's do 1, 2, 3. Let's do this one right here. What is the equation of this line?
X equals 3.
Oh, 3, or I think I'm on 4, whatever number it is.
4.
X equals 4. So if we are perpendicular to the x-axis, it is an x equals equation. I would strongly suggest that you just sketch it, or you put it in Desmos. Okay? So if we are perpendicular to the x-axis, a line perpendicular will be, what direction is that? Is that an oi or a vux? So what does V stand for? Vertical. And what kind of slope is that? Undefined. All right. And also, if we wanted to count like rise over run, we could say that this is rising to and running 0. All right, so let's draw a solid line. Oh, we didn't do it dotted, but that's okay. Perpendicular to the y-axis. So the y-axis is vertical. If we're perpendicular, we're going to draw a line that is what? Horizontal. And what is the equation of that? Y equals, we'll just go with 4 again. That's fine. And this is an oi because it's horizontal. So if we're perpendicular to the y-axis, it's going to be horizontal. And what's our slope here? And a slope of 0. So if I was to count my slope, I'm not going to rise any, and I'm going to run 2, and I could run forward or backward. So I want you to realize that our slopes actually did change signs, and they flipped. So vertical and horizontal, those are perpendicular, right? And undefined and 0 slope are perpendicular. They are opposites. Write an equation for a line passing through -8, +11. Guys, I would sketch this. -8, +11 is going to be down in quadrant 2. I'm sorry, not quadrant 2. Quadrant, we're going to go right, left, and then up. Sorry, quadrant 4. So we're just going to guesstimate this. If I'm at -8 and +11, we're about here. If we are perpendicular to the x-axis, remember this is my x and this is my y down here. So if we're perpendicular to the x, are we vertical or horizontal? We are vertical, and we're going to go through this point. So what is that equation? Is that an OI or a VUX? This is a VUX. What is my equation here? X equals -8. If we are perpendicular to the y-axis, now we're OI because our y-axis was vertical, so we got to go opposite, horizontal. What is my equation for this one? Y equals 11. Again, I would draw it. You're not going to be able to just be like, oh, I know what it is. Because if it said parallel, then it would be opposite, right? So draw it so you can see it. Write the equation of line that is perpendicular to B and goes through -4, +5. You can do this a couple of ways. You can say, okay, here's -4, +5. You still have to find the slope of this line. What is the slope of B? Down 1 over 1. So if we're going to do perpendicular, my slope's going to become what? +1. So we could do this. We can't actually, we could guesstimate. What would our y-intercept be? What do you think that would be? 9. I would not even mess with that though. I would just jump straight to y minus 5 equals 1, x plus 4. I would jump to this. Okay? Plus 5, right? So y equals 1x plus 9. So you can use the graph, but be aware the graph is not always going to go to whatever your y-intercept happens to be. So the safest bet is to just take your slope from your line that's given, find your perpendicular slope, and then use point slope. How are we going to determine if F and G are perpendicular? What do we need to look at? The what? The slope. Okay, so let's find, what's the slope of F? We know it's going up 2 over 1, or 2. So then what is the slope of G? G is only, what kind of 1? -1. Are these perpendicular? Are they parallel? No. So this is what we call neither. So we can have intersecting lines that do not create a right angle. Okay? They're still intersecting lines. They're not going to be parallel. They're not going to be perpendicular. They're just neither. They're just plain intersecting lines.